So hi, Emika.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going all right. Where are you now? Is this the Forrest Studio?
This is my Forrest Studio. Yeah, let me give you a little tour.
Oh,
So I always had like a studio in Berlin, which was very black and like in a basement, and like we decided to make some acoustic panel treatment for the room, but we actually like borrowed some trees from the forest that had fallen down. And then yeah, I've got like my lovely synthesizers. This is like the first ever string synth that was created in the 70s. And this I first played when I was at Jim Barr's studio in Bristol. He's the bass player from a band called Portishead. And I went there and improvised with my friend, and he had one of these. And like I got home and I just missed it so much that I found someone in Berlin that had one for sale. This one is actually bought for me by one of my fans as a gift to keep me going through the pandemic. So this one has like extra sentimental value for me. And then these two are like the future for me. Like these two are matriarchs from Moog, and together with my piano and my delay pedals and my Arturia synth and Ableton, like this is kind of my live. I just zoom out a bit. That's kind
okay.
of my live setup on stage. And then I've got my effects pedals and a nice little mixer down there. So I can jam with the computer, but if I don't want to have a computer and a clock going on, I can just free form improvise, which I've been doing a little bit on Facebook and Instagram, just going live and playing like just unscripted, unrehearsed stuff. And then this is my table where I like sit and mix everything. And I've got this really nice mastering compressor, and my vocals going to my preamp here, so you can't really see that. Got these little mini stage lights for doing my live streams, which are really nice. So yeah, and then my Genlex, my humongous Genlex, and more forests, and then cactuses are like my friends from my Mexico, my Mexico time. I love cactuses. And then of course these are all my crystals, which are coming with my trilogy, with my anniversary
Mm.
trilogy. So I got crystals everywhere, like reserved for certain fans and people. I've been like I've got boxes of crystals behind me. So yeah, I've been living with crystals and synthesizers through the pandemic, just in this room
Okay.
with the working with the energies, keeping things going.
Yeah, and I have a little cactus over there as well. I like that. I don't know if you can see
Yes,
it. Oh.
I love cactuses.
Um, but what I find very interesting of what you just showed me is, if I'm not mistaken, you have a degree in musical technology, and you seem somewhat of a gearhead if I can see everything that's around you. But then there's also that other very visceral side of you with the crystals and very the trees, the very back to nature type of feel. So these two
Mm.
worlds, how do they come together for you?
Um, so I would say that my gear and my instruments, or just any instrument, has always been like a gateway for me. And like I particularly like the piano because it just feels like lots of doors and windows, and like if you play the bass notes, it's a doorway into one world. If you play the high notes, it's a doorway into another world. And if you start to combine the two, it's like you can go into different spaces, emotionally, spiritually, however you want to look at it. So I've never really seen gear like in that kind of like scientific way, or like technological way. Gear for me has always just been like stuff that you can use to access like other worlds. And I kind of just decided to be a bit more open about this perspective, because I just got so sick of like the whole world of YouTube and tutorials and like academic, like when I went to do my degree, it was really hard to find anywhere that was doing this. There was like a Bachelor of Science in Leeds, and then this one in Bath Spa. And now like you can go to college, it's taught to like 15 and 16-year-olds, or younger, even in schools. Like music technology is like just blossomed, like in so many ways. It's amazing. however, with that has come this like very mundane, uninspiring education where like people go on YouTube and they just play some stuff and show you like how things work, but it's actually not musical at all. You know, it's not like, oh my god, okay, I'm going to show you harmony and how you can like travel to, you know, another state of mind if you work with filters in this way. You know, it's just like 200 hertz, this other synth goes like has a nicer filter because of blah blah blah. And yeah, I think it's like it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because you can jump on YouTube. Like I do that all the time when I'm stuck with something. I use YouTube as like a video manual, you know, for like fixing some MIDI settings or whatever. But every time like I see someone trying to like educate other people, I'm always just like, oh, you know, like that's not cool. Like my favorite piece of music production bullshit, which everyone talks about, is this whole thing about like how to put a bass line and a kick drum together. And it's like, it's not that hard. And it's not like, yeah, I don't know, there's this whole thing about like you have to do it this way and you have to do it that way. And if you make electronic music, it's all about like the bass drum and the kick drum. And it's just, for me, it's like just being stuck on level one, you know, but then it has this like so much, you know, videos and information about it. But I just feel like the fundamental teaching is just wrong, you know. So anyway, I say all of that to say music production for me is kind of like a small child. You know, it's a very new genre. It's a very undeveloped like world of music, you know, and it's very young. You know, if you compare it to like orchestral music, you know, that's been developed for like decades. You know, new instruments were built and formed and added, and orchestras grew and stuff. And so if you compare it like in the whole history of like all of music, you know, electronic music is like, I don't know, maybe not even 1 year old yet, you know, it's still just like goofing around. But yeah, so I am a complete like gear and software, like hardware and software like junkie. But I really don't like the culture that comes with it. You know, like I'm just like, oh no, oh, it's all wrong.
Yeah, well, one thing that seems to happen, and it's more so in kind of mainstream music, but that all production starts sounding the same. And if you go through your discography, everything sounds different. You really embrace kind of the experimentation side of it, and just exploration might even be a better word. Was this always part of kind of how you saw music, or is this something that was left over? Because you're classical trained as well, right? And that can be very rigid as well.
Yeah. So I just think that it doesn't make sense to me. Like, firstly, genres don't make sense to me. And like, I basically make music to explore the universe, and the universe is a very rich, detailed thing. And there's many contrasts, there's many collisions, there's many, so much dissonance here on Earth, particularly. And then there's this world of harmony, you know, which is something that you need to find. It doesn't just come and land on you as a musician. So yeah, I don't know, if you just make music and do the same techniques to sound like a genre, for me it's just like scratching the surface. Like, I always felt like, why are people happy with that? You know, why? And I also feel like, why does everyone want to just be like everyone else, like, and just like join in? Like, why would you not want to be like, oh my God, look at this insane thing I've discovered, you know? And then the people around you go, yeah, but look at this is totally different. Like, this is much cooler than yours. And then someone else comes along and goes, man, your ideas were so basic. Look what I've brought to the table. You know, just like, I wish that music and art was more of this like challenging space. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just like, I don't know, people just wanting to like have the life and have the career, but they don't really want to contribute anything, you know, that's gonna like change the current state or the current culture. It's all just like, okay, I've done enough so that I can fit in and be part of this now. And then the next one's like, yeah, me too, me too. And it just means that like everything, even though it's music, everything is on like a very low vibration, you know. It's just like, all right, Spotify, all right, Bandcamp, all right, here's an album. But it's like, what, why? You know, why any of this? Like, why did you wake up and felt like you had to do this before you die? You know, does anyone have like any drive right now? Everything just feels so like, yeah, I don't know, just like flat, you know, undynamic.
If we go way back to the beginning, because well, you're releasing a trilogy album, Vega, trilogy of albums, Vega, which is kind of there's new stuff on it, there's reimaginings, but it's kind of a reflection on the past 10 years for you in music. And if we go back way to Drop the Other, and then you mentioned this drive, do you remember kind of your mentality when that song was released, how you saw kind of, or how you envisioned what you wanted to do in music?
Yes. So I just have to like backtrack in my memories to that time. Like, yeah, I knew that I had a powerful record because even the label were unsure about it. And there was this like back and forth about maybe it should just be a white label first, you know? And I managed to get the test pressing into the hands of a legendary radio presenter, Marianne Hobbs, who was really like pushing new sounds and music on the radio back then. And yeah, I got this into her hands and she just thought it was amazing. She played it on her show, and then like I think like a daytime guy picked it up, and it just started to like snowball. And yeah, it was just nice. It was just nice to know that like I was right. You know, I had a good record, and other people realized it was good too. You know, it was like, because up until that point, yeah, you're just like, is this good? Is this good? Am I good? Is this good? Is this finished? Is this right? You know, and that's like the first ever release. And it just like sort of like, it just resonated, you know what I mean? We didn't, yeah. I mean, I just gave it to one person and she spread it around, and I was just like, holy, like, this is cool. You know, it was like this little community just like suddenly was there, you know, that up until now it was me and my speakers, you know, and the people at the label. And then suddenly it was like the world, you know. So it was kind of like opening up, you know, like going from being like an introverted sort of nerd to suddenly like, oh my God, people want to see me live. Like, what do I even do? You know, like I didn't have anything ready. I was just doing music. I didn't have any plans to like travel or do a show. And so yeah, it was like, ever since then, it's been an experiment. You know what I mean? I've never really had like this. Like, if you look at my life on paper, it looks like, oh, and then she went to Berlin and then she worked at Native Instruments, and like, it looks really well planned, but actually it's just been like sort of juggling and like trying not to like destroy things accidentally too much. And yeah.
But you mentioned something interesting then, because part of what's experimentation kind of brings with it is a sense of, I don't know, maybe not for the one who makes it, but a sense of doubt, maybe that will people enjoy this? Will people, especially how diverse you are in your music, has doubt played a role in what you do, or are you very focused and do you believe very much in what you do?
I believe very much in what I do. However, I did suffer for years with like crippling anxiety and self-doubt. Yeah, it was really bad. And that had a lot to do with the music industry, label culture, how artists are like kept in the dark with their finances. You know, there was like this world of industry just like, yeah, I just got mixed up with it. You know, I thought I was going into this to do great music, and I was gonna, you know, get involved in this like amazing thing, but actually it's just a business like every other business, you know. And that, yeah, I mean, I was young at the time and very naive, and that was like pretty heartbreaking on many levels, you know, to think like, yeah, finally I'm gonna join this like big family of creative people, and you get there and it's like, no, it's the same old like business games, you know, and like competition. And yeah, so I did go through years of like wanting to quit daily.
Okay.
And because I don't really like that whole thing about like being on a pedestal and like having a lot of distance and being like I'm better than all these other people, you know, like I really like to just be yeah, myself, you know, just like who I am, you know. And I don't like to have this like sort of image, you know, of like you know, I just like to make good tunes and like share my soul, you know. And so because I've kind of always had that connection where you know, I'm approachable, like people can write to me, I reply, I listen to people's tunes, maybe not immediately, but I make an effort. And so I had this like direct thing with my fans going on. And I have to say that like my fans, their expectations of music generally are very high. Like they are like complete music fanatics. They want good music. They want somebody real, you know. They don't like stuff that's marketed too hard, you know, at them. Like they like the underdog. They like to, you know, like my fans are like really they're a special group of people, you know, and they're all like a mix of age ranges. That it's international. Like also like nearly half of my fans are women. And there's like a lot of the guys are into music production, a lot of the girls are like, you know, just not interested in music production at all. Like, so my fan base is like very, very, very varied, you know. There's people from like Belarus that are 18, and then there's like, I don't know, 65-year-old from like Denver who likes my symphony, you know. It's very mixed. So I say all of that to say, I think I've been very fortunate that I've been able to connect with such a diverse international group of people that listen to my music. Like, I think that's helped me to stay balanced. And it's helped me to see opportunities for where I could grow or what I could do next. You know, I'm not like a German rock act. And once you do that for a few years and a few albums, it's like it gets tiring, maybe for yourself as an artist, I mean, you know. So it's not been easy to kind of like basically have no money, you know, and very limited resources, and try to just keep this international project alive. You know, normally companies would be like spending, you know, to keep that afloat. So that's not been easy. However, it is really beautiful, you know. It keeps things like fresh, and there's the evolution. You know, I can do something for my Russian fans, and then I can do something in the UK, then I can do stuff in Berlin. And
there's a lot of freedom in it, I suppose. And you have, if I'm not mistaken, two record labels that you're kind of running. So
yeah.
as you mentioned, it sounds like you're very free. You can release whatever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
sounds
I could
great.
yeah. And also, you know, I'm on Patreon, and I've got all my own platforms, and I have a fan group, like a private offline, people that don't want to be on any platforms with their details, you know, have a little private fan club. I've got Chaos Star, which is my new platform, my platform. There's no one in between reading information. There's nothing weird going on. It's just a straight up direct artist to listener thing. And I love that. But yeah, like I could record something right now and master it and then put it on Chaos Star like this afternoon, you know. So that's the cool thing. Like with an album, you know, often when it comes out, it's like you were in that space 2 years ago, maybe, you know, or a year ago. So I kind of like the way yeah, I'm just into this whole direct artist thing. Like, I think it's the future.
This might be a little bit of a mean question. I don't know if or a difficult question in some respects, but you mentioned this wide range of people that listen to your music. As the one who makes it, why do you think so many different people can find something in what you do?
Because it's really heartfelt. Like, my music is really, really heartfelt. Like, it's just made purely from my heart, and I'm purely imagining other people's hearts when I'm composing. And I always have other people, you know, in my mind or in my heart when I'm making something. I don't just make like a song for me, because very rarely, once every couple of years, you know, I sit and a song, I need it like to come out because something's happened to me maybe, but I actually don't release any of that, because it's like, when I'm in that space, it's way too much like for people, I think. Like, it's just like too much, you know. So that's like top shelf stuff. But I think because it's like, you know, when somebody does something nice for you and it's like, oh, thanks, man. I think my music is a little bit like that. You know, like my record Falling in Love with Sadness was about, it's a record, you know, about like dealing with sadness. And I mean, what records have been written to purely help people try to deal with sadness and reframe it as something beautiful, you know? So, and it was similar with my symphony. And then my debut was very dark, and it was all about like, you know, dealing with some heavy dark shit. And so, yeah, I think that like there's that kind of thing going on with my music. You know, it's not written from a commercial perspective ever, you know. So I think, you know, commercial music, it's written with like 18-year-olds that like this stuff. And so the chorus has to be like this, and the artwork has to be like this, and then only that group of people connect to it. You know, it's very, very good at doing that. But you know, with my music, if it's from my heart to your heart, like any heart can come into that like grid of hearts, you know.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, you're not afraid to try things and to adapt to kind of the changing world, I suppose, which is kind of moving into Vega VR as well. That notion of doing those virtual reality shows or those in those planetariums, when did that become a thing for you, and kind of creating that whole immersive experience?
Like I love the planetarium shows so much. It's so cool. Like it's crazy because so I'm like playing live to the visuals that my friend created, and like I had moments where I felt like I was going to fall up. It's like I was like playing the piano, just like it's so great because it's like all around you, you know, the sound as well, it's in surround. Like for me as a performer, it's so crazy to have like your imagination, you know, like turned inside out. Suddenly it's like, oh my god, I'm sitting in my imagination. It's mad. And I was telling my friends, like my producer buddies, I was calling them like, I think time travel is real. like the first few days after that show, I was just like, guys, I know that there's books about this, but I really think this is real. So the planetarium shows were like, like again, like a gateway using technology and gear. Like some of the planetarium technology is like some of the best technology you will find in the world. Like it's insane. And the fact that they let us into that space is also also kind of crazy if you think about it. But yeah, and so basically we did all of that, and then Laszlo, my buddy who made the visuals, he sat in lockdown. He was like, "Look, I've cracked this VR thing. We can do it." So I made the soundtrack for him, and he's developing this piece. And now we're just trying to work out if we want it to be like a small thing, you know, like a localized thing, or if we're going to try and put it on a platform and kind of like mass distribute it, which I don't like so much. And then there's also YouTube 360, which is very different from VR, but it would mean that people could just kind of have a cool different experience, you know, within a browser very easily. So yeah, we just been like, kind of for the last year, we've just been trying to work out the best way to distribute that, because it's not so easy. Like, you know, how many people do you know that have headsets? And I mean, sure. I guess it depends what circle you're in. Some circles, like, everyone will have one.
I don't know anyone who has one.
Yeah, see? Yeah, that's the thing about music heads. You know, they've got vinyl and guitars, and they like to go to gigs. So, like, my music head fans, you know, they haven't got headsets. So it's about, how do I bring... Yeah, because I'm really into, like, the world of VR and headsets and that whole rabbit hole of stuff. But yeah, I haven't yet worked out how to connect that with my Emika fans, because it's like they're very separated. So that's the hard part for me.
But it is interesting because a couple of weeks ago we spoke to Jean-Michel Jarre, who is a musical electronic music kind of pioneer, I suppose.
Legend.
And he had the same thing about, he's really looking forward towards new technology and things that So do you think that VR is the future in terms of not just music, but how we consume media and how we kind of experience the world, maybe almost augmented reality?
I think that look at record decks and vinyl, you know, everyone thought that was going to die out. Like, I think there's always going to be a place for like laptops and tablets, but I do think for sure this is all going to develop and go into a new direction, like the next 10 to 20 years. I definitely think, you know, I'll be like a grandma with headset and, you know, phone calls with grandkids in VR and stuff. Like, I definitely think that's on the horizon. But I don't think that it's going to replace what we have. You know, I think there'll just be like this great merging of, you know, like devices and forms. But yeah, I know, I don't think it's going to happen so fast, just because, not to forget, we are in a body and that does present limitations, you know.
Right.
There's only so much you can do with eyes and ears and, you know, physical distance and, you know, Wi-Fi. So yeah, there's like many steps involved in this stuff evolving. It's not so simple as like buying a headset and everyone having a headset, you know.
But I find it, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
What I find interesting as well, because this kind of, you mentioned you kind of had that feeling when you were sitting in the planetarium and you kind of feel like you're sitting in your imagination or your
yeah.
and so this is almost kind of but more on a human level, less technological level, kind of this immersion or experience. And now I did read that you also for your Patreon fans, or you do healing music. So do you feel there's very much a connection between our physiology, body, and music? And then what does it do for you? Is creating that music also very healing for you?
I think, yeah, for me, music. So music therapy has been a little bit like a private hobby of mine. Okay. So like over the years, I've like, you know, often just gone into like music therapy centers and like just witnessed how music is used to help children with Down syndrome. And I've also like helped many people with sleep problems and anxiety, and like created music just for friends or fans, you know, that where I may be talking to someone and I get this feeling of like they are struggling with something. And I am like, it's not like you can just go around being like, here's a song and here's a song, you know, you can't just, it doesn't work that way. You know, some people are on the path that they're on, and I get a strong sense of like, no, I'm not meant to give them something for this. But then there's other people where I get a strong sense of like, I know exactly what piece I could throw together and they would really benefit from it. It feels, like an open doorway, so like I would love to be able to help someone like my mum, for example. But I just get a strong sense of like, no, not meant to, she's on that journey that she's on. So it's like, you have to be very respectful of like people and their lives. You can't just come around and be like, I'm gonna heal you with this stuff. It's a sensitive space, or that's how I feel. So I don't just kind of like go around giving all my patrons, free healing music. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube like that, which I just think is also complete nonsense. Like, this frequency will cure your fears, and it's just like, this is nuts. And then I look at the plays and it's like millions of people are into it, and then there's like bird sounds in the background and stuff, and but yeah, I do think that like music as a form of therapy is something that's underestimated, let's say. I do think there is a lot of stuff that where you can, like, the music itself is not going to heal you, but what it does is creates like a blanket or an atmosphere where you can start to maybe look at what issues there are, whatever it might be. And if you're in a waiting room, for example, and there's no music, it's horrible. And if there's some music, whatever it is, even if you don't like it, it's like at least there's something there. It's kind of like music can be this great thing that you can lean on, almost like a net. Do you know what I mean? If you imagine you're like struggling in your life and you're floating around and everything is difficult, and then music can kind of like catch you for a second. You can like lie in this like net, and it's just kind of like got you for a while.
Yeah, it makes sense. I when I was still living in Amsterdam, I had a dentist, and they played opera music all the time. So
Whoa,
and the dentist,
that's intense.
But for me, I've never been afraid of the dentist. But for some people, it's something. But I found it very interesting that they kind of distract you in a way with opera music. You had something to focus on instead of lying in this sterile chair while somebody's kind of poking in your face. I found that very interesting, how music can kind of alleviate some of those situations or make it at least more interesting.
Yeah, no, that's actually very clever, because you have these like drills in your skull, and then to have like some Maria Callas being like,
oh, yeah, exactly. I thought it was really a genius idea. I really liked it. Going back to Vega then, because as you mentioned, kind of do you see it as a milestone, kind of this 10-year kind of milestone thing, or how do you perceive this trilogy of albums?
Okay, so surviving 10 years as a female producer, making everything on my own, somehow keeping things afloat independently, dealing with like all these, business executives and whatever, dealing with like the structure of streaming, which just treats artists like slaves, to survive, and be happy and have fans and have like, potential to still keep going. Like, fuck yes, like this is an insane, huge milestone. Like, I'm quite a modest person, but like I feel like how this must be destiny. Like, because I really wanted to quit. I've really tried hard. Like, I spent one moment trying to go inside and find where my creativity starts and turn it off. Like, I've been so done with this because I've just been through a lot, and it still doesn't stop. It just keeps going. Like,
why? Why can't you quit? It sounds counterintuitive, but what is it that?
It's a really, really good question that I also like, fuck, I want to get out of this so bad. Why can't I quit? I think I don't want to quit because I know that it's what I'm meant to do with my life. I know that whatever else I did would mean actual misery. You know, like this being hard is way better than actually just being miserable, like living a lie, you know, doing a different job, but all the time being like, quit on the thing that I love, you know. So I think just being honest with myself, I know that, like, I know it's what I'm meant to be doing. I've always known that since I was a kid, you know. So if I didn't do it, I would be then like living a lie, which I think is way harder than just having a hard time with what you kind of love, you know. Yeah.
What for you has been the most, I don't know if this is a good question, difficult thing you had to overcome in the past 10 years? Like you said, there's a female in the industry. What is, or maybe a story that you can share, something that you kind of had to deal with?
Manipulation.
Okay.
Everyone is out to manipulate you as a woman, as a young artist, and like everyone, you know, artists don't even realize, you know, even the platforms, you know, has turned artists into content creators. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Sure. There's so much manipulation. But I think that's the time that we live in. That's the time that we live in, full stop. You know, it's not just artists. But I can tell you a story. It's very simple. You know, artists have been tricked into believing that music, you know, should be free. Let's start right there.
Right.
Artists themselves are unable to value their own work, you know, and say, here's my album, I think it should be 10,000 euros. You know, I spent 5 years of my life, it's amazing, why not? You know, like artists just are like, self-esteem is at such a low right now within all artists, myself included. You know, it's like, that's where we need to start fixing things first, not by pointing the finger at like streaming this and blah blah blah. We've got to start with our own self-esteem and the fact that we've been tricked into thinking that we're kind of just like, you know, jokers in society, where it's like, oh, we're lucky that we get to do what we do. We're so lucky to do an album. We're so lucky when somebody listens to it. It's like, that's just manipulation, you know, straight, like, you know, manipulation straight to the soul.
It's very interesting that you say that, because recently here in the Netherlands, we had a row about this where I think, I have to remember it correctly, but I think it was the Formula One Grand Prix they had, and they had some artists performing. But then before it all happened, it turned out they were not going to pay these musicians and these bands that were going to play. And one of the kind of saying, as you said, it was almost like an afterthought. Oh, but you like playing, right? You get a lot of exposure. And the band was like, do you think we still need to eat? What do you think we do? So there was somewhat of a row about that. And a couple of bands refused to play. So that was very interesting to see, as you say, kind of taking some ownership and taking some... So that was, I see that as well.
Yeah, it's so funny because, people often say, you know, taking ownership, but it's like, it's abuse. It's abusive.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, to come to someone and be like, yeah, come here, you'll get some exposure. It's like, that is so, for me, it's just like, it's just not right, you know, and it's normal. It's become normal, you know. And that's my mission also with Vega. You know, it's not up for streaming. It's like it's not even available in Bandcamp, you know, because there's issues with the whole Bandcamp psychology. And you know, these platforms, they always fill out the boxes for you. you know, €1 and you try to put something different in and it says, whoa, are you sure about that? And it's like, yes, fuck, I want this to be €2 maybe, you know, but there'll be some warning box. And there's this whole illusion that like, if you buy vinyl, the artist gets money. You don't. Most artists are selling vinyl at a loss. And you know, working another job, saving up money to pay for a pressing, it costs a lot of money to create really good pressings and then promote them. You know, there's so many layers to this that people are unaware of, and that's why I just decided it's time. It's my 10-year anniversary. I feel like I've earned the right to be able to say I want to do this music on these terms now. You know, I've given a lot. I've filled a lot of empty cups. I have been giving, loving. I've said yes to pretty much every possible thing that's come my way. I have bent over backwards to adapt to these things that didn't feel fair, didn't feel right, but I wanted to be willing, you know, and now it's like, you know what? I've had enough of those things, you know, I've had enough of like breaking my back, you know, for something for some kind of structure or system that means I'm still going to be struggling tomorrow, you know, like with Vega, with the way that I've structured it, with what it is, the fact that it's a trilogy of albums, the fact that it's got crystals, you know, it's a little piece of like my universe, and the way that I'm doing it through Chaos Star and Patreon as well, it's like that means shipping is free, there's taxes, there's lots of deductions to make. However, if I sell out, it means that's going to be a little bit towards my next production, you know. So it's like you get something, you're getting my trilogy, you're getting Vega, you are investing in my next work, you know. So that's kind of what I want to be able to offer people, like, hey guys, I know you're going to love this because I've made it for you, but you guys get to invest in me, you know. And I know that there is good people out there. There is people that want to do that. They like, I'm a fan of bands and music. If a band was like, hey, here's this, you know, channel, I'd be like, yeah, you know, here's a tenner, or like, here's €50, or here's 5, like whatever. So I've learned that people want to invest in stuff that they love, you know. They want to keep it going, whatever it is, a game, an app, you know, like there's this whole culture of people that, you know, and I think it's not true that people, you know, want billions of songs for tenner a month. I think it's not true. I think that's just good marketing. I think people actually want to have really good music, and they want to find that one album that they can listen to for, like, you know, people only ever listen to about 3 or 4 albums a year. You know, all they want is, like, you don't need hundreds of friends, you need one good one. You know, you need that one good album. You could listen to that one good album, like Nirvana, like Queens of the Stone Age, you know, like these bands and these good albums. You listen like your whole life, you always come back to them. So
yeah, I'm very much the same. And I mean, I do this job and I listen to a lot of albums, but I still go, when I'm kind of in my own time, I still go back to the same ones. I still go back to the ones that I kind of, that hit a chord with me. And
yeah. And like, try to find a connection like that through today's streaming culture. Try. You won't find one. And if you do, for sure, you're going to want to buy it, download it, get it on a record, have it in your house, because that's how it works, you know. So that's the thing with Chaos Star. I just decided, enough. I'm taking a little break. I'm not turning my back on any of that, you know. I'm just taking a little break because in Germany say, alles war sehr wackelig, like wobbly, you know. Everything was very, very wobbly. Like, oh, maybe Bandcamp, maybe this, maybe streaming, maybe a playlist, maybe, oh my God, oh, I got a playlist, yay. Oh, I'm not on the playlist anymore. Oh no, you know, it was like everything was so wobbly. that I was just like, man, I have to come up with a new concept for myself, because I was so sick of being like, oh my God, is this gonna, how am I gonna, like that whole
Sure.
like, yeah, I mean, it's not a nice state to be in. Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean, the world is already uncertain and enough at the moment. So having all these kind of pockets of not knowing what's going on, basically, yeah, I can imagine
Yeah.
it's very annoying.
Do you know what's also insane, right? When friends or someone will be like, oh my God, look at this video on Instagram. It's got 100,000 streams. And you're like, I'm worried about how I'm going to pay my health insurance. What is this? Do you know what I mean? And then like to see your music out there, like being consumed with these platforms, and you as an individual are just like, I haven't got a pension. I can't afford a pension. And it's just horrible. It's horrible,
But it's good then that you kind of decided to take your own way in that, or go your own way in that. And now maybe, I don't know if this has anything to do with what you now just mentioned, but I read that what you're working on now is inspired by Jeremy Rifkin's book, The Third Industrial Revolution. So I don't know, I haven't read the book, so I don't know what this industrial revolution will be. It's probably going to be online and in kind of how we consume and how we operate in the world, basically. So what can you tell me about what you're working on next?
Okay, so I definitely put that to the side, because as the world changed with the pandemic, I was suddenly not sure where to place that book. It was a bit like, when I first found it, it was like this dazzling concept of the future with this nice kind of friendly man telling you a story about the world. And I was just like, whoa, this is amazing. And now that the world has changed, and we have this whole like new normal concept and stuff, I'm not sure what I think about that book. I think a lot of the stuff in there is like, yeah, I basically just parked that for now. It did really, really, really inspire me for a period, and I wanted to make a symphony based around that. And it was amazing and would have been amazing. But then we got plunged into like so much uncertainty, and it didn't make sense anymore to like try to create music based on this, concept of the future, where we were like, in the future, and it wasn't like that at all, So what I'm working on now is a new type of genre based on math.
Okay.
And it sounds really different to any kind of music that's out there. And it's going to be hopefully a massive project for next year. It's not album based, it's something different. And I'm developing a bunch of super cool stuff that I think a lot of people will be able to connect with and tune into whenever they like. And and just keep exploring, like keep exploring in these worlds that are still a bit more free, for artists.
Yeah, you keep surprising, so I can't wait to see what you come up with. Emika, may I thank you for your time?
Thank you too. Thanks for the great
Thank you.
questions.